Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning into the Media Buff Podcast, a show about anything and everything media related. I know we normally do this thing called 3 minute review, where we do a quick synopsis of something we're reviewing in under 3 minutes or less. But for this one, there's a lot to be said and there's a lot to be unpacked. So I think we're going to need a little more time. We'll try to keep it under the hour mark, which we normally do. Joining me again is my co host, Matt.
Hey everybody, how's it
And
doing?
for and for this one, we're going to be reviewing episode 4 of Daredevil Born Again. This is going to be a spoiler. This is going to be your spoiler alert for this episode because we are going to talk about some key elements that happened in this episode. We won't give out too much away, but hopefully by the time we air this episode, you'll have time to have already watched the episode that we're talking about. So, with that being said, you want to do a quick synopsis, Matt, or you want to kind of just get into it?
I we could give the quick synopsis because you probably
Okay.
have it pulled up in front of you,
Yeah,
and then after you're done, then we'll just jump into it.
for sure, for sure. For this episode, right off the bat, we see Matt kind of just going through the day to day of being a lawyer. He gets asked by one of his colleagues to do a quick representation for somebody that was recently locked away. Basically, the guy was caught doing petty larceny, and he's trying to get probation, but the entire time Matt is able to get him 10 days, which he's not happy about it. From there, we see Wilson Fisk trying to be the mayor, but his council person, or I don't even know what to call her, Sheila, is constantly just telling him like, "No, you can't do
His
that yet."
one of his advisors.
What's the advisors constantly giving him red tape, telling him you can't do anything yet, and basically just making things a lot harder for him to do what he had promised the New Yorkers to do. As the episode proceeds, we see both of them actually struggling through the day, trying to get things done. Matt visits Frank Castle. They get into a bit of an argument. Well, I wouldn't call it an argument, just like a little squabble, not a squabble, like they get into a heated discussion about
Yes.
basically who they are, the things they do, the things they did, why Castle thinks that Daredevil Matt is doing the things that he's doing mostly for the not I wouldn't call it vengeance of his friend Foggy, but just in memory of him, like he's doing it for him basically. Like he's the
Well,
motivation behind it.
we'll get more into that
Yeah,
later, a little bit later, because I do want to talk about that scene.
for sure. And then we see freaking Fisk. He gets some really bad news, and it turns out that some information was leaked, which really irked him, and it results in him just going on not on a tirade, but on a justified like,
He
okay, I'll
yelled
call
at
it a
he
tirade.
yelled
He
at
yells
his
at
staff.
his staff because somebody dropped the ball, and obviously somebody's got to pay because it's Wilson Fisk. He doesn't let things go so slightly. We also see him and his wife Vanessa with their marriage counselor. Well, I guess you call it therapist, discussing some aspect that happened in their marriage while he was away. We'll get a little more details into that in a little bit. And then, of course, the episode wraps up with Matt scoping the crime scene where, unfortunately, Hector Ayala was murdered. Spoiler from the previous episode. And it turns out that there might be some connection with the Punisher, but we don't know 100% sure. Uh, the episode ends with him being with the girl he's dating. What was her name, Matt?
Well, I forget her name, but she's also the therapist
She's a
for
therapist.
Wilson
Yeah.
and Vanessa.
Yeah.
And
Wilson and Vanessa.
Matt doesn't know because
Well, patient
yeah, she
confidentiality.
can't she can't tell him who her patients are.
Kristen, that's her name.
Okay.
Kristen.
Yeah.
So they spend the night together because I guess they're full blown dating on.
Hmm.
And the episode ends with Matt waking up in the middle of the night and going through his old gear, and we get a flash of him like kind of just like I wouldn't call it training, but practicing his moves in
He was playing around with his bolo staff.
unison with Fisk having dinner. And there's a really interesting ending that ties with him in that, and we'll go into the
Let's
more
not
detail
give
right now.
that one away.
You
Let's
don't want to
not
give
give
that one
that.
away? All right.
No, I want that to be a surprise for people when they watch the
Yeah.
episode.
There's also a reveal of a villain. Do you want to talk about him?
Yes, because he
Okay.
comes in at the very beginning, which
Yeah.
I'm excited
Yeah,
because
not a lot
it
of people know about his villain. I was going in the Reddit forums and like not a lot of people know who he is, but
well, he's only 10 years old. He came
yeah,
out in 2015, but he's a brutal villain. And
yeah,
he's a serial killer, and
we'll
his
get
name is
into the
Mute. And
yeah,
you see him carrying around a body and along some train tracks and stuff. That's
yeah,
at the beginning. That's how the episode opens. And then you
yeah,
see his face in the mask. Yeah, I was like, oh, yes,
yeah.
we got
It
Mute in this.
looks very Rorschach-y, and he's carrying the body.
I was
He's not dead, by the
thinking
way.
I
What were you saying?
I think Mute's mask is more of like how Anarchist looks from Batman Arkham Origins.
Okay.
If you
Uh,
can kind of picture that.
I can kind of picture it. I only say it's a little Rorschach because it has like the kind of like the ink stains on the side and
No, that's like blood or
oh,
something
it's
going
blood.
down. Yeah, something.
Regardless, if you folks listening didn't know, Muse is actually one of the individuals who painted that mural in the
Muse,
beginning.
that's his name. I don't know why I call him Mute.
In the beginning of the episode of the second episode, you see him making a painting where you see Fisk in a dark tone and in a light tone. One tone he's upside. Oh, is he upside down or is he just in a like? He has like
I don't.
horns and his fire behind him, and then the other one he has like, I guess you can call it a makeshift halo, and he's all white. But Muse is the one responsible for that, and he is a serial killer. He murders people and displays them in grotesque works of art, is what he
Yeah,
says. But yeah, so I can't wait to see uh what more we see of him. The episode continues with freaking, what are you gonna say, man?
I was gonna say if he's like anybody, if you think about it, he's like who's the guy that wears the pig mask from
Oh,
Batman?
yes, I know who you're talking about.
Because
I forget his name, but
they do something very similar.
he puts people together. He uses people's body parts, puts them
That's
together.
right. And then
Yeah,
he displays them
displays them is bad. Yeah,
around Gotham.
yeah, it's really bad. But from there we see Matt. He gets a call from one of his legal partners. I forget the girl's name. The one
Uh
that is she that is working with him in his
starts with the
in
K, and it's not Karen. It's like
no, it's not. It's definitely not Karen.
it's
Well,
not
regardless,
Karen.
she calls him up. She tells him like, "Hey, you need to go help out a friend of one of our clients. It's a guy who got pinched for petty grand larceny. He was stealing fatal, and I guess they wanted to give him 30 days in jail, and he was kind of arguing for probation. But Matt was able to get him 10 days, and I gotta say, this guy was a POS and an ungrateful one too, because even after getting him 10 days, he was like, "I wanted probation."
Yeah, let's talk about that real quick, okay?
Yeah,
Um,
just like show some
I
gratitude.
I understand that you're not doing too well, and maybe and because his story was the last time he was went away for like 20 days or some shit like that from the
Mhm.
last crime he committed.
Exactly. This is a repeat
Um,
offender, by the way.
yeah, he's a repeat offender. Even though they're misdemeanors, he's still a repeat offender. His claim is that uh the system kind of like it screwed him around, so he couldn't make an appointment because he was locked up, so he can't get SSI checks,
Hmm.
right? And like he lost his food stamps and all this other stuff. And I understand that when you lose that stuff, it's harder to get back, but it's not impossible. But
Exactly.
also, you are continuously putting yourself in these situations by
Yeah.
committing all these misdemeanor acts. And the bigger your rap sheet gets, eventually you're going to end up in front of a judge because he hasn't been in front of a judge yet. It's all been plea bargain deals.
Exactly. Yeah.
And if you go from judge and they look at your rap sheet, they're like, "Well, obviously you didn't learn your lesson from the first 46 times. I'm going to put you in jail for 5 to 10 years. So good luck with
Exactly.
that."
Yeah, I gotta say that part was like kind of irking me because yeah, at the same time I get that he's going through a hard time, but do you put yourself in those situations by
Mm-hmm.
continuously committing these crimes. I understand that you felt you needed to do these things, but there's always an alternative way. And the reason he even stole the fiddle file was because he wanted something sweet. I'm like, I'm sorry, dude, but beggars can't be choosers. You gotta eat what you can. And if
Mm-hmm.
that means, oats and
Yeah.
hot warm water, guess what? That's what you gotta do. You gotta suck it up sometimes.
Or
Life is hard.
if you got to eat ramen every fucking day for
Yeah,
every meal,
yeah,
you got to do it.
gotta suck it up. From there, we see Fisk. This scene made me laugh, but at the same time made me cringe. He's
Was
getting
it the kid
serenaded.
singing?
Yes, he gets serenaded by
They
some
were
kids
so
in
off
school.
key.
I was like, oh my good. And he's like trying to keep a happy face. And the entire time these kids are serenading him. And unfortunately, one of his advisors gives the lady, oh man, Sheila, some bad news. Adam is the guy's name. No, not Adam. Oh my God. And I had
Daniel,
Daniel, thank you. Daniel basically admits to Sheila that he had let some info leak out while he was out clubbing with BB. Why he was clubbing with her, I don't
because
know.
they're friends.
She's still a reporter, dude. And for the
Yeah.
record, if I were Fisk, it turns out that he let out some information about him wanting to rework the unions for the garbage men.
Well, it's
And
not
she took
that.
that out of I feel like she took that out of context. What were you gonna say?
It has to do with the docs that Fisk
No,
wants to change.
this is about the garbage man. That's why the headline said
Oh,
garbage mayor
okay.
union buster. No,
I
this isn't
thought,
about the docs. This is something else that we'll get into in a little bit.
right, yeah, the recycling shit.
So
Okay.
yeah, because Fisk wants to start a new recycling program with the garbage man, and they would, I guess, need to rework their union stuff. And Fisk was going to meet with them, but BB clearly took the information that he Adam let out because he was drunk out of context and made it seem like he's out to get the unions and either tear them down or take away benefits, whatever have you. I didn't actually get to see the article because you can only see the headline. But regardless, when the news got out, Fisk was pissed and justifiably so.
Hmm. I mean,
Like,
I would be too if I was a mayor and I was like, in all honesty, um, even though like you have to rework the union and make things work and fit, but having a completely renewable system for trash is a lot more beneficial for a city.
exactly.
It reduces the waste. You get
Hmm.
more use out of products and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And if someone were to take my words and twist them and put them in an article, I'd be very pissed as well. And I would be very pissed at the person who leaked that information.
Yeah, and he made it clear that he was very angry about the whole situation. Adam did confess to his blunder, and Sheila kind of,
It's
since it's
Daniel. You keep
Dan, I
saying
keep saying
Adam.
Adam. Daniel confessed to the situation, and Sheila omitted to say, "Yeah, I knew about it too." And I feel like Daniel kind of said everything Fisk wanted to hear, so he would let him off because it looked like Fisk was gonna lay into him pretty bad. And then you see Daniel just like, I'm so sorry. I don't deserve a second chance. If you hate me, it's fine. I still support you, all this stuff. And he technically forgives him, but what he tells him, I feel like there was more there than it seemed because he says like,
Yeah, I
if
felt
you
like the
ever
kingpin was speaking then.
that was the kingpin speaking right there because he says if you ever do something like this again, it'll be the last thing you ever do. When he
Mm-hmm.
said that, I'm like, oh, I know what he means by that. Daniel knew what he meant by that. Hell, Sheila knew what he meant by
Now, just because he may not kill you, if the kingpin
you
you
dead
to wants you to
or get an
like
accident.
suffer, wants you to suffer, you're gonna suffer for the rest of your life. You're not gonna be able
Exactly.
to get a job. You're gonna be on the streets.
Exactly. And I like the fact that Daniel, even though he said, I understand, I felt like he wasn't 100% sure grasping that what Fisk meant,
I think he was, but I don't think he was grasping
the
the
gravity.
gravity of it. But I gotta give it to Daniel because he immediately stepped up and said,
Hmm.
"I fucked up." He
I
owned
feel
up
like
to his
that's
mistake.
I feel like that's why Fisk kind of let him off the hook a little bit
Yeah,
because he was ready to resign, and he even said that even if he fired him, he would still support him.
yeah.
But
And
Fisk,
the
yeah,
thing about Daniel, he does believe in Wilson.
no, yeah, he's not a suck up. He
Ah,
generally
yeah,
likes the
that
guy, and he's a genuine supporter.
and I think that's another reason why Wilson gave him a second chance is because he
Hmm.
was genuine in his apology. Yeah, he kind of told Wilson everything he wanted to hear, but he was genuine about it and he's fiercely loyal to the guy. And if there's anything that Wilson respects is devoted loyalty.
Well, he said that too. He's kind of like after he was done talking, Daniel, he Wilson says like it's very hard to come by a man who's truly loyal. And he said like you made a mistake, but time will help you become a better man. But that's when he gave him that stern
Mm-hmm.
warning.
Well, I could see Wilson. Uh, what's who was his friend's name with the glasses from season one?
Smythe, I think, or that was the Smythe's dad, I think, because that's that guy who with the son in the wheelchair. No,
No, no, no, no, no. I'm talking about from season one of Daredevil.
oh, I don't
Like
remember. I don't
Will
remember who that
Wilson
is.
or the Kingpin's right hand man.
Oh, I don't remember who that
Hold
is.
on, give me a quick second. I'll Google it. Wesley, James Wesley. That's who it is.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a
So maybe he
character.
saw a little bit of him in Daniel,
Well, I could see Wilson turning Daniel into
the
his new
next.
Wesley.
Okay, that makes sense. And yeah, he like he said
I
like
mean, he
truly
technically,
loyal individuals are hard to come by.
yeah, like he technically has that with that other guy.
Oh, I know you're
Uh,
talking about the one from the previous episode that
yeah,
went to deliver the information to the other mob bosses.
yes,
I forget his name too. Mhm.
he technically has that with that guy, but I don't think he views him as the same as he did Wesley.
No, I feel he's more of an errand man, like
Yeah.
a gopher.
Hmm.
But from there, we see is this where we see Fisk and Vanessa doing their therapy session with Kristen after this
I'm
one?
trying to think.
Because as
Yes.
crazy as it sounds,
Well, also,
this was a pretty heavy Fisk episode. Cut
also,
a lot of it.
also, one thing I really enjoyed,
Oh
which
no, wait. We completely skipped
I'm going to talk about this.
we completely skipped
Remember
with Matt. Uh-huh.
when
Okay,
the
so
detective, Matt runs into the detective again?
oh yeah, after he helps the guy,
Hmm.
he it seems like he's trying to bait him and make him confess that he killed Ayala. Obviously it
He,
wasn't him. You could tell
he,
because you can hear
but
him listen to his heartbeat.
yeah, but I like how like the detective is like, oh, the bar association wouldn't like this, blah blah blah.
Oh,
See about, and then like, Matt's like, well, next time you run into me, you might have to bring you
more of your friends.
friends. You know, I wish that he would say and take this line straight from the movie of Ben Affleck. Is like, yeah, how about you go tell everyone how a blind guy beat your ass?
Yeah. When he at the end of the movie, yeah.
Yeah, I would laugh. I want Marvel to do that so bad. I want to hear Charlie
Say that.
say those
Hmm.
words because it'll be a nice callback. And yeah, who the fuck's gonna believe you that some blind dude whooped your ass? Like,
Exactly. But yeah, that was a good scene. But actually, the scene after the one with the whole fiasco of the union, we see Matt visit Frank Castle because he actually scours the crime scene and he finds the shell that killed Ayala. And I guess it matches some of the shells that Castle uses.
nah, it just has the Punisher logo
Oh,
stamped on
okay,
it.
okay, okay. And
That's
I'm
why,
guessing he does that.
yeah, that's why Frank was like, "Oh, fucking fanboys."
Yeah. No, it's obviously a fanboy because even he
Hmm.
said like I'm not gonna go around killing supers, especially if they haven't done anything to me. And they
Yeah,
get in this is where they get into their heated discussion where Frank is basically telling him like trying to go on the straight and narrow, but we both know that you're only doing this for your friend Foggy, which is the truth. It's the truth.
yeah. But I like how Frank was like, "Oh, you served? You're out there. I'm not doing your fucking bullshit superhero stuff."
Yeah, well, because Frank
But
actually did
that's
serve in the military.
yeah, and like, but I like how Frank is like. I just love like even in the comic books when Frank and Matt are talking to each other,
Hmm.
Frank knows what buttons to
Hmm.
push on Matt, especially if their ideologies, because Matt is like, it's wrong to kill people, right? And Frank's
Yeah,
like, fuck it, put a bullet in there. You know,
exactly.
it's better if they stayed out. And Matt's like, there's redemption. You gotta believe in giving people redemption. And but Frank knows what buttons to push to get Matt to listen.
Yeah, and he had a point because Matt was talking about how when Foggy died, he went after Bullseye, and instead of killing him, he just throws him off the roof, and
Yeah.
he gets life in prison.
Well,
And Frank is like, "But you didn't want to do that. Like, admit that you didn't want to do that. Like, it's okay to want to kill somebody. Like, sometimes you do
mhm.
have to put a rabid dog down. You don't give
Well,
it a second chance."
the whole reason why Matt threw him off the rooftop was to kill Bullseye. Like that was
Yeah,
his attempt at killing him, but it
that
obviously it didn't.
that cyber spine of his probably kept him alive.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
So and then like Frank was pushing him the whole time. It's like say his name. If this isn't about him, say his name.
exactly. Yeah, that scene was really, really good. And also the fact that because Frank knows what it feels like to be driven by wanting to have revenge over somebody, and he mentions his son, and then he tells Matt, it's like every time I don't move, not being the Punisher, I hear my boy telling him, "Get him, Dad." And obviously, that pain will never go away, which is why Frank does the things that he does.
Yeah.
And to him, and this is two sides of the same coin because they both believe in dealing out justice, except one will go to the extreme and the other one won't. The ergo, that's why Frank is constantly telling him, like, you got to put the rabid dog down. And then Matt's like, no, there's can be redemption sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good scene, by the way. That's probably the best scene in the entire
A-
episode.
any any scene with those two in it, that's why I love season two of Daredevil so much.
Mm-hmm.
Is like that's also it's their conversation. It's always about the difference in their ideology, and like they just like and they like somehow they like tolerate each other. Like because Matt like punched Frank in the face. It's like I'm
Yeah.
sorry. He's like, well, you got to be sorry about that's the only honest thing you've done so far.
Yep. Since
Like
he was
that's
here. Yeah.
see, that's the type of shit Frank says to Matt to like get him to listen.
Yeah. John Bernthal was a great choice to cast as Frank Castle. Like they
Mm-hmm.
did a fantastic job with him. I didn't like him so much in The Walking Dead, but this one I feel like this role was tailor made for him. Like when I was watching the Walking Dead, I was like, that guy could play the Punisher. But from this scene there, we see Fisk with his wife Vanessa, and they're talking to their therapist. And I like the fact that infidelity pops up, and that's part of the reason I was kept saying Adam. So it's
Adam.
because they bring up Adam, and if you watch the previous episode, I mean the previous seasons, you know that Vanessa did have an affair with him while Fisk was away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot more of that's like revealed in Echo. I'm not
Hmm.
100% sure because I haven't seen Echo. I just know of key things that happened into it. Like Wilson, like she shot Wilson in the head.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why when they say, "Oh, I went away," um,
I like the
they're
fact
talking
that
about that
I
he
like
was
the
like,
fact that she kind of used it made it her infidelity an excuse because he was in a coma.
"Yeah,
He didn't go away because he wanted to. He was in a coma. He was comatose because he almost died. Typical of a woman. It's like I
uh,
really cheated on you because you were in your deathbed. But I like the fact that Fisk, like he will let Vanessa get away with anything. And I like the fact that at the end of that therapy session, Kristen is like, "Do you feel safer around your husband?" And she's like laughing about it, like, my husband may be a lot of things, including a killer, but he will never hurt me.
yeah."
Yeah. I was the
But
entire time I was like, yeah, he'll hurt a bunch of other people, but never her.
although I do like how the therapist asked him the question, like it's she brought up the fact that it's important for them to be there, and that, but are they there to save their marriage or to dissolve it? Because in all honesty, there's only two roads ahead of them now.
Well, Fisk made it clear that he loves who she's becoming, and he loves that she's becoming more and more of a independent, strong woman. But at the end of the day, she still needs to stand by his side.
That's
And
true. Also, um, but Wilson, if he wants their marriage to, you know, continue and he wants her to be by his side, he needs to forgive her. And like the therapist said, uh we need to sit in this discomfort for a little bit because
Yeah.
Wilson never wants to talk about it. But
No, when she brought it up, he was like, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to hear about it. And I
yeah,
like the fact that she asked them, "Do you guys know where Adam is?" And they both in unison go like, "No, no, we
no.
don't."
And Wilson claimed he had a conversation with the fella, but
Yeah, conversation.
there's something to be had at the end of the episode pertaining to Adam.
Yeah.
We're not gonna tell you what it is.
I
So go
mean, watch
find
the
out.
episode for yourself so you can see it and stay like party after the credits because this is where the episode kind of wraps up. Matt goes home and Kristen is waiting for him and she's asking him about his day and they're both kind of like just talking about it. And I guess Matt didn't go home the night before, huh?
No,
Because she said she was worried about him.
no. She said like
I don't know if he felt.
He didn't come home right away that evening
Ah, okay.
because that's when he went to go talk to Frank and stuff. And
Yeah,
he's like kind of figuring like, and that's the thing. Another thing about this episode, like at least I really like about it. I feel like as the season goes on, each episode gets better and better. It like Matt is slowly starting to be pushed towards becoming Daredevil again, and Wilson, you could see it with from his side too, of him like being pushed into being Kingpin again.
exactly.
Like, and so I think it's like something is going to eventually give. There's a lot of friction going on with everything and everyone.
Yeah.
Did we talk about all the red tape bullshit with
Yeah,
the docs?
we actually completely skipped that part where Sheila Fisk is like at the docks and he wants to revitalize them and Sheila's basically telling him like we can't do that yet because of
Yeah,
all this red tape and
and
Fisk.
also murders.
Yeah, and Fisk, like he understands, but at the same time, he doesn't want a naysayer. He wants somebody who's gonna help him get to these things. And honestly, I don't like Sheila. I don't like her character.
Me
She's a
neither.
very
But
big naysayer. I would have fired her by now.
I like how Wilson takes like her naysaying stuff, and he knows how to direct it.
Yeah. So
Like
like,
he broke it
what's the
down.
first thing? Yeah, what's the first thing we need to do? And she lays it out. I was like, okay, let's do that. Let's get the ball rolling.
Then let's take that first step. And
Exactly.
like what like you say what you want about the guy, even though he's like a major villain and he's done a
He's genuinely
lot to,
trying to do good by the people, and
yeah.
that's why
He's trying to be a good mayor.
I felt like this was part of the episode was that him, just like him trying to do the right thing, and people just keep getting in the way. Like he's
Mm-hmm.
genuinely trying to be good, but you people aren't letting him do it. Like you don't like it when he's bad, but you don't let him do any good. It's like you know what you're doing. You're putting him up against the wall, and eventually he's gonna snap.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So
the episode wraps up with Matt getting woken up in the middle of the night, and he goes up to the part of the his townhouse or loft or whatever you want to call it, and he goes through his gear, and you see all the helmets he has, and he starts kind of like just doing
mess around.
drills with his I don't know what to call him, his sticks.
It's like a bolo staff
Yeah,
because
okay.
it's like it's like a mini staff and you can break it apart. It's a grapple hook, and it looked like he
Mhm.
put a meteor ball at the end of it in this episode, or maybe that's just one of them.
I think that was the hook because he lets it
Maybe it
go
was.
and he's
Maybe the
spinning it
hook was
around
just like
and then he's
crumpled
throwing
up.
it around and the
Yeah,
episode kind of wraps up. There is one part else that it pertains to Fist, but we're not going to talk about that. Watch the episode. You can see that part for yourself. Let us know in the comments if you see
and,
it and what you think of it.
and also there's one more scene at the very end of the episode with Muse,
Yeah. Yeah.
with the
Muse.
body again. You
Yeah.
see,
He has the body and he's basically getting it ready for his work of art.
yeah. Also, there's like one scene I want to talk about real quick, and that's when Daniel gets in the taxi
Mm-hmm.
and then he's about to drive off. It's that scene change. I thought that
Mm-hmm.
was really well done.
Yeah.
When
That's where
it
you see
goes
the
to
guy.
the
Mm-hmm.
yeah, where it goes like he starts to drive off, and then it just like goes through the window, and then you see the lights of a police car, and
Exactly. Yeah.
I thought that was really well
I
done
actually thought
and
that was the same.
creative.
I actually thought that was the same scene until I watched it again and I saw like, oh no, that was a scene transition. And then
Yeah,
you show the guy that they call Matt to go defend and try to get a plea bargain for him. That
I
was a
thought
pretty
that
good
was
transition.
that was really creative.
Yeah, this episode was kind of like a slow go, but it had a lot to unpack, with
Yeah,
Matt's struggle of staying in the straight and narrow, Fisk genuinely trying to do good by the city and constantly getting walls put up against him, people taking what he says out of context. Even the whole thing with Vanessa and her wanting to be seen as, this individual that even though Wilson Fisk doesn't dislike, he knows that it can only harm him in the long run because she clearly got a taste for power. She wants more of it.
yeah. So like he needs to figure out what to do with his wife, like where to direct it.
I know because he doesn't want to stop her, but at the same time, he can't keep letting her get away with things, and it might get to the point where they do butt heads, and that whole him never hurting his wife might get thrown out the window. I
Yeah.
mean, we don't
I
know.
mean, he may not physically hurt her
No, but
at
he'll
all,
figure it
but
out. Well, there is
he'll
one. There is one way he's hurting her.
yeah.
Watch the episode, folks. But what do you think is gonna happen next episode?
I think we might I think let's see, next episode is episode 5. So
Mm-hmm.
I think we're gonna get like one more episode of everything just start like festering,
Yeah,
and then uh, either he's gonna be back in the suit
like halfway through the episode
either halfway or at
or
the
at the
end,
end. Yeah, I was thinking that too.
or at the end of that episode, it's going to be his reason for him going back into the suit.
Mm-hmm.
And then episode 6 is him really like I think there'll be like a good half of that episode where he's like, all right, do I really need to do this? This is what's going on. Let's figure it out. And then he just ends up back as Daredevil.
Yeah, yeah.
So I
The
give
the
it
only
1 to 2 more episodes. I could be wrong.
the only downside is that if he dons the suit again and Fisk finds out, he's gonna go to town on him because I mean he obviously he's probably just gonna say, oh, Matt Murdock is Daredevil, arrest him.
But you can't really do that because he's blind.
At the hesk of the mayor, they might just launch an investigation and find his stuff,
True.
Because if the mayor's saying like, "Hey, this guy's a criminal or a vigilante, arrest," him. But we'll see, folks.
What do you
Daredevil.
think is going to happen?
Actually, what you just said, I feel the same way. Like we're either gonna see him don the suit like right in the beginning of that first episode, maybe halfway, most likely at the end. But yeah, something is gonna trigger him to go back. I'm willing to bet it's gonna have to do with Muse. It might have to be something else, but it needs to be something directly affecting him because he's not just gonna outright go back to being Daredevil because he sees somebody getting mugged, or I mean, he hears somebody getting mugged.
Right.
But we'll
Or
see.
it might have to do with that detective. There's a lot on
That guy,
the
we're not.
board.
That is not the last we're gonna see of that detective, the guy who was beating on the witness and his
That
partner was
dirty
killed.
cop.
I forget his name, but Daredevil airs every Tuesday, right, on Disney Plus. So
Six
definitely,
6 o'clock Western time.
all right, 6 o'clock Western time, probably
Uh,
9 Eastern. But definitely check it out, folks. Let us know what you think of the series so far. As always, please remember hit the like button, subscribe, and we will talk to you next week for the next episode review. Adios, muchachos.
Goodbye, everybody.